Hey everybody, I'm Rick, the inventor and founder of PoochPod. Today I'm going to walk you through the installation of your PoochPod onto the back rack, which you'll have on the back of your bicycle. Similar contraption on the back of a motorcycle or motor scooter. The back rack assembly is not included. Everything else you need to get your pooch riding in the PoochPod certainly is. We're going to start by putting the PoochPod on the back rack itself. I've taken this rack off of the bicycle to show you a little bit better how it actually is assembled. You'll square up the rack on the PoochPod. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that the PoochPod is sitting on the rack correctly, and that's with the front side facing front. The front of the PoochPod does not have one of our logos on it. All three of the other sides do have our reflective PoochPod logos. All of the equipment necessary is in my hands right here. All of these parts come included in the PoochPod packet, and you'll simply need a Phillips head screwdriver for the installation. Let's start with taking the bolt and the fender washer. Put the bolt through the fender washer. So I have the bolt through the fender washer, and we're going to look down here at the grid. You should have the PoochPod settled on top of the back rack of your bike or scooter so that the grid lines you see here of the rack itself are perpendicular and balanced with the slots in the bottom of the PoochPod. You're then going to take the bolt and washer and drop it down through one of the openings that you see. Balance these bolts, so 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, so you'll be more stable with the PoochPod. So now that we have the bolt through the slot, we're looking for the gap, and the theory is to bridge this gap with these anchors so that you're grabbing the underside of the rack for the pod. So we have the bolt through, we'll simply thread this on. Again, I've done this assembly with the rack off of the bike and on my bicycle stand, just so we can get a better undershot here. Once you bring up the slack, you'll take the screwdriver and come in from the top side and snug that up. Again, the key is to make sure that this is perpendicular with the rack and not, obviously, going to fall through that slot. Perpendicular. Also included in the installation package are these plates, and these come in handy when this gap, when these toggle anchors cannot bridge the gap. If the gap is wider, especially like on the Vespa scooters, there's a big wide gap, these will grab that. So in this particular case, you can weave it through and then take your bolts, come on the top side and bring the bolts through there, and then use this as an anchor for the as a nut for the bolt. Okay, so as you see, put the bolt through the mending bar. Please note that often with these, with the plate, you might have to bring it at an angle, and that's fine. For example, if I had it straight across like this, there's no way to put a hole there. This hole and this hole will be accessible up at this port if I simply drag it up that way and then run my bolt through there. So I'm going to twist it up that way and put a bolt through there. So as I said, you might have to put this on an angle. It might not be perpendicular. The key is to look for a balanced placement of the bolts, the toggles, and the mounting bar to attach the pod to the rack, grabbing the underside. If this is at an angle, that's perfectly fine. If you want to use the plates and the toggles, all four that we include, that's fine, whatever's going to be safe for you, as long as the pod is snugly secured to the rack. So there you have it. Quick installation of the PoochPod on the rack, which again is not included on your bicycle, your scooter, or your motorcycle. It's very simple. Really what you're trying to do is grab the underside of the rack to attach the pod securely to it. You'll be up and at them in probably 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Installation time, you'll have the Pooch in the pod and you'll be rolling down the road. Make sure you drive safely and keep that head out of the window feeling all the time.